So some people are going to find this question to be very easy and obvious, and they're going to solve it in like literally 3 seconds. Nevertheless, I don't know that I would even trust that if I thought of it that way on the real test, but I probably wouldn't. I would see this and I would realize that essentially I want to get a value of x, right? At the end of the day, I got to be really careful. I don't want the actual value of x. I want the value of x minus 5. So I got to be careful of that. But I see that I have an equation that only has one type of variable, x's. So Desmos can solve that for me. So I'm just going to type this into Desmos. So let's do it. I'm going to put parentheses around these x minus 5s because it makes it easier to type on the iPad, divided by 7. So that way I can do that a little bit more easily. And this is going to equal, again, parentheses, x minus 5 and divided by 9. And so we can see here we have a vertical line at x equals 5, right? So then if you didn't actually read the question and you had one of these kind of moments where like, oh my God, 5 is the answer, then what? You're going to get choice C. So this is the trap. They know people are going to do that. If you did that, shame on you, right? How long is this question? What is this? 12 words? You can't read it. You can't see that it says x minus 5 instead of x. Like, come on. It's pretty simple. So all we got to do is what is 5 minus 5? Well, it's 0. And 0 is between -3 and 3. So we're done. There's really not much extra work you need to do to avoid the trap. But lots of people won't do it because you can't help yourselves. As soon as you get this x equals moment, you're like just like hopped up on adrenaline and you just pick the answer that kind of matches that. The SAT is deliberately kind of asking for something else to mess with you. So just, I don't know, see it coming. They do it a lot. So you can't make this mistake. Regardless, this is how I would have done it on the test, and I would be perfectly fine with that answer. It only took me, 30 seconds to do, even with me talking. Now, the reason some people can get this intuitively is because they're understanding the properties of the fractions themselves. And they realize that in order for us to have two fractions that are equivalent, that have the same numerator, the same top, but different denominators, that's only going to happen in one case, right? Because let's just say we had 1/7 and 1/9. Well, those are different numbers, right? So that doesn't make sense. That doesn't work. And we could try that with a bunch of different numbers representing the x minus 5 here, right? Because the x minus 5 is the same thing both times. The only time this happens is when the numerator is 0, right? Because 0/7 is just 0, and 0/9 is just 0. Right? So 0 is always 0. That's essentially what's happening here. So that property is, for some people, going to be intuitive. And they'll be able to just kind of look at this and be like, this x minus 5 thing, the top of the fractions has to be 0 in order for this to be true. If that's you, great. I'm proud of you. However, I'd still be nervous enough that I'd probably go to Desmos and just double check. Because sometimes we have these really strong feelings where something is really easy and obvious, and then it's wrong because we walk right into a trap. So I'm always kind of thinking about that whenever I solve a question. No matter how obvious it seems to me, I'd rather have some more definitive proof than just a vague feeling. And I get that for some of you, it's like, well, yeah, but it is a proof, right? I know how fractions work. I get it, but I don't know. I don't think it takes much longer to just type it into Desmos and just be like, okay, if x is 5, then 5 minus 5 is 0, and there's my proof. So do what you want, but be mindful of your instincts and how often those kind of easy, obvious answers end up being right for you versus how often you are just as confident, but wrong. Because that's the kind of thing that kills scores, especially by surprise, where you think you came out of that math section, you're like, I got everything right. And then you get your scores back and they're way lower than you thought. It's probably because your instincts are bad and you're not distrusting them enough. So have a system in place to verify your instincts are correct.